but like I've thought about it a lot, and like what is huge as a business owner, what is huge, right? And from one business owner to another, I know that you can relate to this, Meg, is and it's just perfect because we're coming in Q4 right now. The ability as a business owner, the ability to control the timing of recognition of revenue and expenses, that is huge. You can have a great year, right? And like on paper, you made this much money, but then like you have the ability to like, prepay a bunch of expenses that you're going to pay in Q1 of next year. You can pay them now. And like, so on paper, it looks like you actually lost money, but and then on like vice versa, you have all this revenue coming in, but you can kind of control the timing of recognizing it. So like the deferral of revenue and the acceleration expenses is a huge benefit that you have as a business owner. That ability to control that is huge from a year over year tax saving standpoint.
So for example, going back to, I'm glad you brought this up about the self-employed retirement plan. Many people have money in retirement right now. They're coming out of a job. They've got a retirement account. They're young enough. I'm 61. I've always tapped into my retirement plan to fund the startup of a business. I've also used home equity. I've also used my asset-backed securities. So I'm one who's very comfortable leveraging my own assets to borrow against those. So going back to retirement, there's the rollover business startup or ROBS plan that a lot of people are afraid of until they understand that as a business owner, you're taking money out of your current retirement plan. You're legitimately, legally not taxed or penalized by the IRS to do this. You move it into a self-funding startup for your franchise. Then as your franchise matures and you are at cash flow positive, you are profitable, a good advisor, tax advisor would say, now's the time to set up that self-directed, self-employed retirement plan. So you're taking it from here, putting it into your new silo of a business. And then as a tax benefit strategy, you're going to take a big chunk of your profitability out and put it into a different retirement plan. So you're effectively replacing one retirement tool with another one, only now it's benefiting your personal tax situation because you're reducing what you're reporting as profitability in your business by moving more funds into this self-employed retirement plan. Correct?
Yep. So what you're referring to is the rollover business startup, known as the ROBS, and the ROBS is a funding tool that is available to use in the world of purchasing businesses, purchasing franchises, et cetera. And yes, and so essentially, there is a lot to the ROBS. And so I'm really big on like educating people that are going into ROBS, everything that goes into it. It's like, hey, what is it? Because like when you go ROBS, how it works is you're setting up a corporation.
Yep.
And that corporation has to be a C corporation. And the way it's structured is that the actual majority shareholder, if not the entire shareholder, the 100% shareholder of the C corporation is the retirement plan itself of the C corporation. So because of that structure, it allows you to take old retirement assets to fund your business tax and penalty free and to use for the investment and for the operations. And then to your point, Meg, once you have profit in the business, then you can make retirement contributions from that business's profit back into your retirement plan with that business. And it can be invested in other investments, other mutual funds, or more stock of the business like itself, like as you put the profits back into the retirement plan. And then, at some point in the future, when you sell, you can have an exit. And then, you essentially, the actual stock of the C corporation itself can appreciate so much to where it's just like where you started out with your retirement plan being this, and then you bet on yourself. Right. And then you sold, and like the proceeds from sale went back into the retirement plan. And now the value of retirement is this. Right. Meanwhile, the market is over here, doing like, dribs and drabs. And so like that is the Rob C Corporation. It is a very intriguing option. And so when it comes to starting your own business and how to fund it, right? And so like the classic example is, do I do ROBS or do I do SBA or do I do both? And you mentioned home equity line of credit and securities-backed line of credit. That's great stuff. And then so on the so I think that this is what I'm really passionate about. I think that when it comes to funding your business and when reviewing the options of, retire, so I think that ROBS needs to be part of a it needs to be a subcomponent, and the umbrella term when reviewing retirement assets needs to be retirement asset funding. What are my options when it comes to retirement asset funding? Because there are multiple things there, right? There's the Rob C Corporation as one option. There is for smaller amounts, there's just a 401, just doing an LLC with a 401k plan and being able to do a $50,000 participant loan with the 401k. And you can even do that from your current employer if you or your spouse are still going to work at your current employer, right? 401k participant loans, like that is one chapter of retirement asset funding. That is another option in addition to Rob's. Also, what about Roth, right? Roth distributions, right? You can take Roth original contributions to a Roth, you can take out at any time, tax and penalty free. So it's pretty much just like a glorified savings account. And so it's just like that needs to be discussed as well. And then also there needs to be the feasibility analysis of, just straight distributions, like a normal distribution, depending on your age, whether it's subject to 10% penalty or not. And then, and then what are you, because like if you're doing for example, like if you're doing a brick and mortar, and like you or your spouse bring like 6 or 7 figure W-2 income to your personal return, and you're doing this brick and mortar at the same time, and like this brick and mortar, like 500 to $1 million plus of startup investment, and it's going to have this big tax loss due to ramping up from zero and having all this accelerated depreciation that we just talked about 10 minutes ago. You could create a lot, like a big loss, right? And like that loss can offset your taxable distribution or your spouse's high W-2 income on your personal return, right? And like, so that needs to be discussed, right? And then because in a C corporation doesn't flow through profits and losses to the personal return like an LLC or an S corp partnership does. So it's like that needs to be discussed. And so it's like, I think the umbrella term that needs to be talked about in the industry is, okay, here's retirement asset funding, right? And then like that's the story of the book, right? And then like the chapters are, there's there's 401k participant loans, there's Roth distributions, there's early distributions and normal distributions from a regular retirement plan, and kind of how they all interplay with each other. So like that's that.